Hi everyone, you're welcome back to this YouTube channel. Today I'll be teaching us how you can use Ankara fabric to make this maxi circle dress. So let's get started. Okay, so I'll be showing us briefly how to fold your fabric. Okay, now we all know that Ankara fabric is by 45 inches. That's for the length. So what you're going to do is you're going to fold your fabric into two. This is the edge of my fold here. Okay, so you're going to fold into two. Meanwhile, the length is going to be your full length plus like extra, say 10 inches extra. Okay, meaning from this point up till this point is my full length plus 10 inches, but in two places. So if my full length is 60, that's 120, but as in it's folded, so you have 60 on both sides of the fold. Okay, then I'll be showing us how you fold again in bias form. Okay, I'm using paper because the fabric is quite big. So after folding into two like this, okay, then you're going to fold in form of a triangle like this again. So this gives you like a half circle. Okay, so this is what we're going to be doing with the fabric, like the first fold and then the second fold on bias. Okay, so I'm going to fold my fabric this way now and I will show us. Now, after folding the fabric, this is the apex and this is the point where you have the triangle. Okay, now this is the original length where it stops, but because of Ankara fabric is short, okay, and the second fold stops here, which is one of the major things we're talking about in this tutorial, how you can make up for that. Okay, yeah, assuming it was like maybe crepe or a fabric with a longer length, you actually fold the bias and still get your full length. And then this is the part where one side is folded and the other two parts are opened. Okay, now you can see this is the edge of my fold and the other two pieces. I'm taking my time to explain. All right, so from the edge of the triangle there, or from the apex, you're going to draw a slanted line, like a straight line, horizontal line rather. Yeah, now this line must be up to quarter of your bust circumference plus 1 inch for side seam allowance. Very important. Okay, so I cannot tell you to come down from the apex by a certain amount of inches. Just make sure you check that the horizontal line is up to quarter of your bust circumference. Okay, so let us start from the top part. This is the line here. Okay, so this from the center front, I'll be marking quarter of my bust plus 1 inch for side seam allowance. Okay, and then the way it's folded, we'll fold both the back and front together, and this line is assumed to be my chest line. Okay, so I would mark quarter of my bust circumference, which is 9.5. okay, now after I've marked quarter of my bust circumference, next thing is I'll be measuring half of my across back measurements. And then because it's a dress that has a strap, the strap is supposed to be in between your shoulder, not at the shoulder tip. Okay, so if half of my across back measurement is say 7.5, I will take away about 2.5 inches from that measurement, so I'll be left with about 4.5 inches, or I'll just approximate it to 5. So I'll mark 5 inches there, meaning okay, I'm not marking my full across back measurement. Then from that point I will come up by 4 inch. Okay, I don't want to really show cleavage. You want to show cleavage, you can still come down a bit, but I'm doing 4. Is that clear? So and then I will now link this point. So I'm going to link that point, you know, where I came up by 4 inches to my quarter of my bust circumference measurement, that the point I marked there. So here I'm linking it like that. I just hope you can see. Okay, then next is to mark the neck depth. Okay, so from my chest line I'll be coming up by 2 inches. Okay, like that. So I'll also link that point with my curved ruler to the point where I came up by 4 inches, like that. So this way the strap will be positioned in between your shoulder, okay, not at the shoulder tip. You know, I don't know whether, anyway, by the time we'll finish, you'll see what I'm talking about. So this is a closer look. So on this line, okay, I marked quarter of my bust circumference plus 1 inch for size seam allowance. Then I marked 5 inches. I took away about 2 inches from my across back measurements. I came up by 4 inch. Okay, I linked that point to my bust circumference measurement here. Then I went up by 2 inches to create my neck depth, and then back to that point. As easy as that, like seriously. So I'm going to be cutting out. Okay, then next thing is to measure the length of the dress. Now my normal shoulder to chest line is 8 inches. That's what I use. So I'll be placing 8 inches on that line, the chest line. Then I would now measure my full length plus ½ inch for, you know, hemming the lower part. So I'll just mark, you know, I'll place 8 inches at that line there and mark my full length round, which is about, I think, 58 inches thereabouts. Okay, all right, so I don't know if we can see the marking. Yeah, the garment is quite big, so I need to video at different points. Now you can see where the fold ends. Yeah, okay, I'm cutting out the marking first of all. Yeah, so that is where my full length ends. Okay, so now after taking off the excess, you can see that because African print and the length is not very much, there's a shortage. It's only the first 2 folds, okay, that we can see under there. But here you can see that we have a shortage. It's not up to the length there. So what do we do? It's very easy. What we're going to do now is you're going to take the remaining piece of fabric, okay, and before we work on that, I need space. So let me just trim off this upper part here. I'll be adding ½ inch to the neckline, okay, ½ inch to the armhole here, okay. Then for now, I won't cut off the side seam yet. I just need space, so that's why I'm you know, cutting off this part first. Okay, so now let's go back to the lower part, which we are having a shortage. So all you do is you're going to fold your remaining piece of fabric and make sure it's unfold like this part here. You know, the folded part is where we have a shortage. Okay, so you fold your remaining fabric like this, like what I've done now. Okay, then you make sure the folded part, which is here, aligns with this folded part on my remaining piece of fabric. So I'll place it about ½ inch above, you know, where the fabric stops. That ½ inch will serve as my seam allowance for joining the 2 pieces together. So I'll just pin this like that. Okay, then I'll just place my fabric well. So after I've done this, what I'll now do is I will go back to my chest line. Okay, I'm just trying to pin to make sure the fabric is well placed. Okay, I would go back to my chest line and take the measurement, the full length measurement again. Okay, which is what I'm about to do right now. So you can see I'm measuring it again. I'll do that. Okay, so don't forget, place 8 inches on the chest, on that line where we marked the bust circumference measurements. Yeah, because from that line upwards is about 8 inches on the average for most people anyway. Okay, so after marking it, I will now cut out. So by the time I cut out now, you're going to see the piece I've been able to, you know, cut to make up for the shortage that we had. So sorry guys, this style is a maxi. Yeah, so the camera might not capture the whole dress at once, okay, but I want to believe we're following the tutorial. It's very simple, like very simple. And at the end of the day, I'm almost finishing like 6 yards. Yeah, so I'm taking off my pins. I want to show us. Okay, so this was what we had before. Okay, and this is the makeup fabric to cover up for that space. So now I'll go ahead and join these 2 pieces together. Okay, half inch, But before we do that, I want us to cut out the facing for the neckline. So to cut out the facing, I'll fold my fabric. This is my remaining piece of fabric. I think I have about 1 yard left. Yeah, so I'll fold my fabric, okay, and then I'll place my dress, the neckline, okay, around the fold. The facing is supposed to be on fold too, okay. Now this time around, I'll be cutting the facing for both the neckline and the armhole. Yeah, so I'll cut the neckline like so first. I'm cutting the facing. Then I will trace out the what do you call it, the armhole. Yeah, I'm tracing out the armhole. Okay, so I'll just try to locate where the side seam ends, which I just stopped. The next thing is to determine the width of the facing. Now I always say the longer the facing, the better, so you're not struggling to tuck it in. So I'll be doing 3.5 inch for the width of my facing, because I'll still be taking half inch on both sides. Okay, so I'll just mark that 3.5 inch round. Now mind you, you don't expect to see a straight facing, or cause the facing is going to like follow the shape of the neckline and the armhole. Okay, so just follow the line like that and measure the width of the facing. Okay, so once you're done, okay, so I'm just tracing out the facing. Like I said, the lower part of the facing is going to take the shape of the neckline and the armhole. Yeah, so I'm just going to cut out. This is just for the front. Okay, so I'll be repeating the same thing for the back. Okay, so we're going to be having two facing, one for front and one for the back. I'm just trying to cut out. Okay. All right, so here we are. Okay, and I'll be cutting for the back. Now for the back one, it's not going to be on fold because the back piece has joining. That's the main dress. Okay, so I'll just cut out the second facing, but I'll just make sure it has a little like space for joining. Okay, so this is just the facing for the front here. Okay, and I'll be cutting the same way for the back, just a little bit more at the center back. Okay, now we need to start working on the dress. I'll be opening up the side seam now. Okay, so from the side seam, you can actually control the fullness of the dress. If you feel it's too full, you can tilt your hand towards the center front on the side seam. Okay, if you feel it's too full. But this is like a full dress, like a full circle dress. So I'll cut all the way to the lower parts, and then we are going to start sewing, which is going to be really easy. Yeah. So if you're enjoying this tutorial, please give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Yeah. So let us start with the sewing tutorial. So like I said, for the part that has a shortage, I will notch my dress at the center, and I'll also notch the piece that we're going to be joining together. Then I'll sew it with 1/2 inch like this round. Same thing for the lower part. So by the time we sew this, we'll have our full dress back in shape. Okay, so after joining, this is what you're going to be having here. You're going to open up the seam and press flat, and nobody might really notice. Okay, so the next step would be to attach the facing and the straps to the front. We are starting with the front. Okay, and then this is the back. You just go ahead and join with about 1/2 inch. Okay, yeah, so let me go ahead and do that. I'll be sewing with 1/2 inch. This is my center back piece. Okay, I'll be joining that with 1/2 inch. Okay, now that I'm done joining the back, okay, now I'll place my facing right side facing the right side of my dress, like so, and then like that. Then for the straps, okay, I came up by 4 inches from the chest line, and I said my shoulder to chest line is usually 8 inches. Okay, so since I came up by 4, that means I still have 4 inches to make up to the shoulder. So my straps is going to be 8 inches long, 4 in front, 4 at the back. So I'll place my strap in between my fabric and my facing. This is the back piece. Same thing here. I'll be placing it in between the fabric and the facing. Then I will go ahead and sew from the center armhole to the center, all the way back to the other armhole there. Okay, so once I sew, this is what you're going to be having here. Okay, so you press flats. It's always important for you to press after each sewing process. And then very importantly, you should notch the seam allowance. You know, the neckline and the armhole is curved, or else it will not lie nicely. Okay, so here, now I'll repeat the same process for the back. So for the back, it's like pretty the same process. So here, my back piece, and you can see the joining at the center back. Yeah, and then my facing too, you can see the joining I had to do there. Okay, so I'll place the facing like that. Okay, then the straps from my front, I will be fixing it into the back. So what I'll do right now is I will be making my front piece the right side to face the right side of the back piece, which is already on the table. Okay, then once I do that, I will now fix the strap. Meanwhile, the length of my strap is actually 9 inches. You need to add half inch for joining the stripes to the dress. Okay, so after taking like half inch on both sides, you will be left with 8. That's for me. Okay, so don't forget, shoulder to chest line is usually 8, 9. So but I do 8. So I'll place the strap here also on the back piece. Same thing for this other one on the back piece here, and then I will place the armhole like that and go ahead and sew just like we did for the front piece. Okay, so the dress is like almost ready, Okay, so make sure you notch. You know, I had to show these parts. Any curved part, neckline, armhole, always notch. And be careful not to like trim off the seam. Very important. So I'm just trimming off like that. Trimming off or cutting a notch. Sorry. Okay, so I'm just flipping over to the right side. Then I'll go ahead and give it a very good press. Okay. And yeah, we are almost done. So here is my spaghetti stripe. Okay, next thing, I'll be sewing the side seam 1 inch from one side all the way down. Same thing for the other side, and I'll do like roll the hemline, and I'll show us the final outcome of the dress. So this is what the dress looks like it's so nice, great for the weather. Right now the weather is really hot, so this is like very good for the weather. Yeah, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you share, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and do not forget to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss on the next tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.